Hello and welcome to the Very Good Sports Podcast. The podcast does many different topics. I've done NFL draft things, baseball things, mixing it up a little bit again. This time we're going to be looking at the journalism side of things. Being a journalist, being on a newspaper, covering things. Obviously, I'm majoring in journalism. I'm on a student newspaper. And joining me today is my good friend and another person who has experience in being on the newspaper, Brian Krosky. I believe it's Krosky. If I'm saying that right, let me know.
Yes, you got it right.
Krosky. All right, there we go. That's 1 point. Good start. Brian, how you doing today?
Good. Doing great here on the East Coast where it's currently 10:30, but it's all right.
East Coast.
Yeah, I would do anything to have another 3 hours to do some work, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's nice. 7 a.m. here, just early start. Plenty of time left.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we begin talking about, different things with the newspaper, first start off with where we come from with journalism. So what about you? Where have you done your work newspaper writing for?
Let me start a little back. Just kind of, I'm in high school. We didn't really have a newspaper. We had like an online blog, and I was the editor-in-chief of that, which was pretty cool because I was really the only one that was kind of pursuing journalism in my high school. And then so I go to a school called SUNY Oswego, which is literally right on Lake Ontario, which is awesome. And it's more of a broadcasting school. Like I do a couple broadcasting things too. We have some alums, Linda Cohen and Steve Levy of ESPN went here. Al Roker went here. It's a big meteorology school. So we take a lot of pride in doing journalistic experiences and things like that. We get a lot of support. Steve Levy literally supports us like every year because we're a big hockey school. So I guess that's kind of where I'm leading into now. So I joined our campus newspaper, which is called the Oswegonian, as a freshman. The editor-in-chief at the time went to my high school and was friends with my sister, so I knew him. So we even kind of knew each other beforehand. And then the sports editor at the time, he grew up in the town next to me, which I didn't even know. So I had a good in with them. Started off as a staff writer, just kind of writing pieces about anything you want, learning people, meeting people, stuff like that. And then during the winter season, so like it started in like November, I was the women's ice hockey beat writer. So going to every game, previews, recaps, getting to know the coach, getting to know some of the players, kind of building that relationship. And one thing that I really like about collegiate coaches is that they're usually very good with student media. I don't know if you've experienced that because they realize what you're trying to do. They realize the effort that you're putting in and how you're still a student but trying to do professional work. And they're usually very good with you. And that's one thing that I appreciated. And I built some really, really good relationships with coaches at my school because they realize the effort I'm trying to put in. I have a job to do, and they have a job to do. And it's a mutual interest thing where we both have a high level of respect for each other's professions. And so they actually had the best season ever on history, which was pretty cool. They had it's Division III. They cracked the top 10 in one poll. So that was pretty cool. They had a first-team All-American goalie, so covering that was really good. So yeah, it was a young team. So like I was a freshman. There were a lot of freshmen on that team. So good connection. And then this year, end of last year, I applied to be the sports editor. I got it, which was good as a sophomore because not many sophomores. It's usually a junior, senior position. But as a sophomore, I was really proud of that. And then the big sport at Oswego, if anyone who ever talks about Oswego, is hockey. Men's ice hockey, they've won a national championship. They've been to the Frozen Four 9 times in their career. So, yeah, like Steve Levy used to be the old play-by-play guy for hockey. He used to travel with the team. He still comes for he doesn't really come back for games, but like he'll still watch the games on our student-run TV station. So that's like the big thing, and you really got to step up your game for that. And unfortunately, when the women's team had their best year ever when I covered them, the men's had their worst game since 1999 when I covered them. But I mean, that's part of it. You live with the ups and downs.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned one great, I come from background. So Students River College, junior college in Sacramento, newspaper, The Connection. So it's a junior college, but I mean, one thing you mentioned is just with college coaches, just there's that level of respect and accessibility where, obviously you need to work around their schedule, but like interviews, they'll sit down with you, they'll talk through, they'll spend 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And just being able to talk to them about different things, different subjects. And that mutual level of respect, so obviously, so you can get stories done, You can turn them in. You can, and honestly, it helps them for their program to get more attention to it, more fans. I mean, even more attention for recruiting. So I mean, it's a mutual respect, mutual beneficial thing, which is great. I do wonder, like, how much different it would be, when you get higher up working with professionals, because that's all about money and getting the job done. But in college,
Yeah.
it's just so much nice, just that mutual respect, as you mentioned, being able to work together. And the other interesting aspect of it is, I mean, when you're on the college newspaper, you're interviewing, you're talking to other college athletes who are, doing the same stuff as you.
Mm-hmm.
So the night before, you'll be interviewing post game, and next morning you have a class with them.
Yeah.
So it's really an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough line to walk too. It gets tricky because, like you said, you both have a job to do, and so. But like I do my best. Like some of the guys on the ice hockey team, like they're big shots here, but they're always great with me. I'm even Facebook friends like with a couple of them. Like the coach's wife, I see every day. So I mean, it's just like great relationships. They and most of them are older. The way like hockey works is they go through juniors, and so that's for 2 years, and then they go to college after. So most of the guys that I'm talking to are like 23, 24. So I don't want to say there's like an inferior or like superiority complex with it, but like they're not. They kind of treat me like I'm a little younger, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm talking to guys who are 4 or 5 years older than me, and it's almost kind of like I have to like not look up to them, but there's a good relationship there, and so I think that's something that I've really gotten to appreciate.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I had a thought, but then I lost it for a moment. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, just a little bit more on my background. So, community college is California. It's a bad process right now. It takes much longer than it's ever supposed to. So, I think year and a half into my time there, and during that year and a half, I was taking journalism classes. And like, join the newspaper. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want to be a journalist, but I never joined, which is an odd thing. And then 2 years in, I had this class, Professor Colette Harris Matthews, who I'm gonna end up owning a lot to because I ended up joining the newspaper semester after her. And I mean, it's such an interesting experience. You learn so much from it. There's ups and downs, but I mean, it's an experience that really has a great impact on your life. You learn so much about it. So I mean, it's been a fun time.
Yeah, I don't want to talk down my like journalism program here, but like it's not, the professors aren't like, I'm kind of walking on tricky waters, and a lot of people probably won't be watching this from Oswego anyways, but like it's not really much of a journalism program. Like I like some of the professors, I do like some I don't. I just think that like I wouldn't be nearly as intelligent or just aware of this subject had I not joined, because like in the classes you write like for my one class I'm taking right now, like we write 5 stories in a semester. Well, I once wrote 3 stories in a week just for the print edition, and then another 4 for the weekend edition of hockey. So I did more stories in 1 week than I did for the whole semester. Sure, they weren't as long. Sure, they didn't require as much work, but like it's still like that's what it is. And so that's good because I get to dabble both with, I guess, like quicker newsy stuff, and then for the more long form featurey stuff, which you need to be good in both in. And so I just feel bad for people like who don't get experience in like certain things. And I know like you still have more years of college when you transfer and stuff like that, but just like I don't get people who only take classes and like don't work on anything. Like there's so much that I like just haven't learned in classes that I know I've learned in a semester and a half or 3 semesters or whatever. The info is just amazing. It's like it's a real life experience. It's not perfectly real life experience, but like you're working toward that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's one of those things where, because I mean, when you're in college and you'll just be writing stuff, whether it's for an English class or whatever. I mean, yes, this is a different type of writing, but really, the writing's for yourself. The writing's for a grade. When you're on a newspaper, especially in your first semester there, when you're a staff writer, the writing is for the team because you have an editor who needs that done.
Yeah.
You have that added pressure on you to get it done, and it really helps drive you to get it done. It motivates you to push forward and want more for yourself. So that's a big thing. It's just, I mean, and really, I think the best part, not only what you learn, but just the people you get to know and the time you spend with them. And you mentioned, well, it's not the full thing, but I mean, there's moments during things where, I mean, we had some campus stuff going on. I think I wrote was some crime stuff going on, but it was in the moment. Report to the in the newsroom. It's a classroom. You report to the newsroom, and it's immediately be there. Go out, reports, get interview people, get all your sources, just get a story done ASAP. And so we'll be spending half a day there just in this breaking news story to get it out online as quick as possible.
Yeah, along with that, but like one thing else I've learned is like I knew nothing about hockey coming in, like absolutely nothing. I maybe watched a couple games of the Olympics, maybe like watched like the final game of the Stanley Cup. But like now, like the women's coach and the head coach, just from like talking to them every week, like after every game, before every game, saying hi to them whenever I see them on campus, stuff like that. Like they've taught me so much about a sport that like I never thought I was going to do. And now actually during the summer, I'm starting a massive project for the men's team. It's I'm doing like a huge charting project. It's going to be something that I'm getting like a lot of film on and just a lot of stuff on. Like I never would have thought that 3 years ago I would be charting this hockey team and like figuring out like the strengths and weaknesses and analysis of it, because I don't know, it's just not what I expected. Now I come here and I'm absolutely obsessed with it.
Oh man, yeah, that's an additional thing. Like, I mean, obviously, it could still be going to journalism, but like maybe you go in there with an idea of going to journalism, but then you learn so much about a sport. You're like, I kind of would like to just keep working with these coaches and maybe get a career path there where you work in a certain field, helping the team in certain ways, and you might work your way up. But I mean, it's just, and as you mentioned, it's opening your eyes to so much more, which I get. It's just an added bonus of being part of the newspaper.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, which is probably going to lead me to my next point. Is like I'm not really trying to be a reporter when I grow up. Like I just kind of realized that's not me. Like I've done that stuff, and so I've kind of moved into more like PR, or it's called SID, Sports Information Director at college, which is kind of my early career goal at this point. Because at our newspaper, we work with our sports information director. His name's Mike, and he's the one that kind of, we have it pretty easy where he coordinates our interviews. We give him requests for the week and he gives us times back. And so I think that's a great job, because what he does is he essentially is promoting the collegiate athletics for the school. Like he's at all the games and stuff like that, and he gets to do the stuff, and he doesn't get any of the backlash of being the media. Like everyone loves whatever college you go to, like you love your athletics website because they write the good stuff. They keep track of the stats. They write features, like all the happy stuff. And so I realized, I was like, wow, that's a great fucking career. Like, why don't I do that? And so that's kind of what I switched to. I mean, I told the guys at the newspaper that I was kind of done after the semester. I wanted to dive into some other things. So I'm probably going to be interning with the actual Oswego Athletics next year, because I don't know, it's just something I want to do. And like, there's so much you can do with that. Like I said, even at bigger schools, like there are like guys, like you can be like just a statistician for a game, but you have like all those advanced stats and all those charts and all those metrics, and like that's your job. Or you can do you can be PR or the SID for like at a D3 college and D2 college, you mostly cover the whole thing. But like at Syracuse, for instance, like there's a guy just for basketball, there's a guy just for football, and then there's someone for like track and like field hockey, like the lesser sports. But like you get to still cover the sports and do the love of it, but you kind of get to do it with a positive spin, which is something that people complain about with news, with reporting that's focused on negatively. So I've really gotten a good taste of PR, and I think that's kind of where I'm going at this point. And it's just like, and you get to be more involved with the team, which is, I think when people think about like sports, like they want to be involved in it, and that's not essentially what journalism is. Like people don't realize you're on an outside bubble. Like you want to be with the athletes and with the coaches, but like I hate to break it to you, they don't like you.
Yeah, it's
like,
absolutely,
you're not going to realize things you dealt with. Like I remember we were on the road. I was traveling on the road to one of the games. It was like an hour and a half away, and they played one of the worst games of the season. It was like the low point of the season. They were under 500 for what was supposed to be like one of the best teams in the country. And then the coach was like, I remember him storming out of the locker room, and I was waiting there. He's like, "You're not talking to anybody." He's like, "You can talk to me, but you're not talking to anybody else." I was like, "Okay, coach." And I mean, take it professional, but like people see, like you see on TV, like terrible, like not terrible questions, but like someone's asking a nervous question, or who was the guy? Was it on Baylor that talked about how to rebound? Like you don't want to be. I'm sorry, you don't want to be that guy. Like you don't want like Jim Boeheim like lashes out at people. Like you have to like people have to realize like what they're doing when they're getting into reporting. Like I just feel, and that's why I take like there are a lot of blogs where people are like, "Oh, I'm a journalist at this website." Like, no, you're not. Don't give me that crap that you're a journalist, because I've done that, and like I've gone through the ups and downs of getting that title to my name where I'm traveling to places to get info on something, and you're just reading quick media outlet reports and writing about it on a blog. Like there's a big difference. Yeah, and I'm sure you can attest to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I started out as a blogger, but I mean, once you really, blogging it's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. But really, if you want to be a journalist, you have to get into the business. You have.
No one's going to hire you for your blogs that you're going to write. Like that's what I remember. I was writing for a draft website with Dan Hope, who graduated from Ohio State with his journalism degree. He worked at the Lantern, which is their student newspaper there. I mean, he was a featured columnist for Bleacher Report, and he ran Bill's Draft, which was the USA Today like draft media affiliate at that point. And he said he's like you're better off doing your work at the newspaper rather than writing draft articles. And I really took that, because now he has a great job where he covers Clemson sports and Clemson athletics. And so, I mean, he had a lot of responsibility at Bleacher Report. He did great work, but I remember him saying, he's like, you're just better off doing whatever you do at your school newspaper, because that's really what they're looking for. That's a really experience.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a process of, like, as you mentioned, going out on the road trips, being there. So, being there's those moments where they don't want to talk. You're the last person you want to see, but you have to get the interviews done anyway. After a game could be at 7 p.m., getting home when the game ends, still writing the stories. Yeah. All the time, like, there's a commitment there, and you have to be able to show that if you want to make it in the real business. And blog, it's nice. It's a nice start, but if you really want to do it, as said, you got to get into the newspaper.
And it's like even like TV reporting. I think TV reporting is even tougher, because I think there's a lot more that you have to do, just like technical equipment, which I've learned really sucks. And I'm glad I figured that out early, where I didn't get too far into it, where I realized I didn't really like it. But I think people just don't like realize like what it entails and like what it involves. Like they see the outside, like, oh, they see Adam Schefter picking up all these big scoops. Like, do you know how many people Adam Schefter is calling a day? And like 80% of the people like aren't going to want to talk to him. And the other like 10% are like, fine, here you go. Like, I'll give you this information, but like they don't want to. They just know they have to, or else it's going to get leaked out. I mean, obviously Adam Schefter's done a hell of a lot to earn what he's done, but like he's literally getting sued by Jason Pierre-Paul. Like, you don't want to be sued by athletes. Like, we like athletes, but it's Adam Schefter's job, and he did what he had to do to report the news. But like, people just like, I'm not talking down journalism at this point, but like you just see like an uglier and a different side to it that journalists don't talk about themselves that much, because they try and do it. Or like if you ever talk to like a sideline reporter, like I have like Sal Palantonio is one of my favorite sideline reporters. He was like, oh yeah, I was talking to like so-and-so, and the way they put like a positive spin on what they say it. But like if you actually listen to the conversation, like Sal Palantonio is like pulling teeth out of a guy just to try to get him to say something so he can say it on air. Like I just feel like it's fluffed up to like this like not honorable thing, because it is honorable when you're working news, but like the fact that like everyone's just like dying to talk to you, like that's just not how it is.
Yeah, I mean, two things you mentioned. I mean, one with Adam Schefter is, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands people that want his job, and it's just have all the sources. But he did an interview. He had a conference a few years ago, and it was just about all the work he did just to get there, all the different newspapers to work for, being on a student newspaper, all the little steps you have to take to get there. And it all goes back to being on that newspaper in some way. And just, I mean, like even in college, like I think I tweeted to you about this at one point. It was early in the season, and it's after a game. And I mean, I was cool because, it's just one of those things where it happened. But even from college players, you're going to get the cliche answers. So you just have to dig in there and find little tiny things to use.
Because like you hear that on TV, you'll hear like, "Oh, I'm glad I could do this for like my team and all this stuff like that." And it's like, no, you want more than that.
Yeah.
And so like that's tough too, because like that's all they want to say, and that's the job of essentially what a PR person is for the team is you're telling them what to do so it looks better for the team. That's kind of like one of the things I don't like about PR because like it's not really real thoughts and stuff like that. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But like we're trained when we hear people to say that, and that's why we flip out anytime any athlete will say me or something like that.
Yeah, and even watching journalists today. I mean, this gets into more of seeing the position I'm in now and seeing long term where I want to be and analyzing what's going on now. Like you'll see some stuff going on that you wonder, is this what I want to get into? I mean, Adam Schefter, for all the tremendous work he's done, because he is the best out there.
Yep.
But the Greg Hardy interview was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That was complete PR push by the agent. And it's just for ESPN, Adam Schefter grant that I had tremendous issue with. But then you wonder, is that connected to Hardy's agent saying, you know what? If you want future stuff, do this interview. So it's one of those things where you have to weigh a lot of
behind the scenes, and it's tough. Like when you're Adam Schefter, like what else are you supposed to say? Like you want to talk about media bias? What's he supposed to say? Oh no, you did beat up your girlfriend. Like what else do you expect Greg Hardy to say? And what's Adam Schefter supposed to say in that situation? I just think it's like there's a light that's not shed upon like what some of this job entails. That like I don't think people will realize what it is.
I mean, just this is going more into, I think the biggest issue, and this is for all journalists, just learning not to try and be the own analysts and like analyzing people, is that after the interview, Schefter came on and said, you know, I think Hardy's changed. I think he's a far better person than I went in there believing. It's just one of those things where you have to be careful not to pump yourself up so much that you are throwing caution to the wind and just throwing stuff out there.
No, yeah, I get that. And it's tough because, I mean, this is something that, like, I really think Twitter, just, like, talking to people has helped me out with because I used to, like, we all fall victim to this is, like, treating athletes like they're robots. Like, there's a heart and there's a mind behind every athlete you talk to. And, like, I used to like playing fantasy. Like I don't even play fantasy football anymore because just to think of like an athlete like that and just like having to talk, like having like seen guys like that after a loss and like knowing it's like so tough. Like I just can't even like think of them in that light anymore. But like I almost think the same about reporters too because like we want this whole like like no bias, like make sure you report both sides of it, like you're not picking sides, but like these are humans too, like. Everyone, like, I'm not going to go on this whole like, cliche, like, oh, everyone has an opinion and stuff like that. But, yeah, like, it's going to be tough for Adam Schefter to fucking interview Greg Hardy after he threw his girlfriend on a bed full of assault rifles. And then what's he going to say? Like, he can say that he thinks Greg Hardy's a changed man, but then there's backlash to it. But if he doesn't say anything at all, then it's like, oh, this is a huge PR thing. And Shefty's, just kind of not doing his job. It's just like so tough. Like we want these reporters to like do their job, but we want them to do it like they're robots. And I just have a huge problem with that because the way that we've treated athletes like that too.
I think one thing you mentioned, and this is, because this is just tangent. I mean, the one thing that, and doing the other podcast, mental health podcast, is that one thing we talked about is the aspect of how so many people do view these athletes as kind of robots. And I mean, they're kind of picky and choosy with what emotions athletes can show. I mean, you saw after Richard Sherman during the NFL playoff game, where, after the Crabtree thing, he just lit up. You saw Cam Newton after. And these people want to go after them because they didn't show the right emotion in that moment. It's just one of those things where these are human beings who go through different stuff, react differently to everything. Like, trying to control how their emotions is it's odd behavior to try and control that.
Like I really applaud what Jordan Spieth did after the Masters. Like to say that wasn't professional just isn't true. And yes, I would prefer if Cam Newton acted like Jordan Spieth did. I would prefer it. Yes, I just think overall it's better. But am I going to not like Cam Newton for what he did? No, like I just can't. And to say that it's wrong is wrong because like I'm not requiring anyone to do anything. That's just asinine.
That's precisely yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have said it better. So one thing that you also mentioned is, so you spent, how many semesters did you spend, or how much time did you spend with the newspaper?
Okay, well, I was a staff writer. I was a staff writer for my first 2 semesters, and then I was sports editor first semester. But I kind of got caught up in a lot of stuff, and so like I'm essentially not on staff. Like I still kind of help. I had to train the incoming sports editor and the incoming assistant sports editor. Like I still had to help them with a lot of stuff that they didn't know, and like I still had to learn. I still even had to like learn some stuff. So like I'm not really like writing for them, but like I'm still helping, like doing some of the editing, doing some of the layout, because like I'm really good at layout, and like there's a lot more that I can help them with that. So I mean, this is my 4th semester on campus right now.
Yes, that I'm gonna listen. It's like I feel like I'm in the same boat, taking the same path. Because so first semester in the fall, which is last fall, being a staff, I mean, did some online editing, just putting stories online, but mostly staff writer. This semester became sports editor, and I mean, after a while, I mean, 2 semesters doesn't seem like that long, but being with the same people for a while, you just kind of, I mean, it's a roller coaster stuff. Like, there's some good days, some bad, but mostly good. You know, eventually you're like, you know what? There's some other stuff. I mean, because it's still school, so there's other stuff you want to focus on and do. So you end up, I think what you mentioned of how, because you focused more on class this semester, but you did still help with like sports editor, help them show the ropes, and you learned some stuff. So I see that, and I think I'm headed for a similar path.
Yeah, like I mean, that's one thing that I realized too is like if I like became like a reporter and got like a beat, like okay, this is absolutely true, and you may disagree with this. I would never ever take a job as a baseball beat reporter. I could not cover a team for 182 games. That is just ridiculous. But like the people that like to cover beat, like you have to be absolutely like infatuated with that sport. And like this is something that I know Matt Harmon and Eric Stoner talked about. And Eric was like, Bo Jackson, he was like, listen, your passions, sometimes you got to leave those as passions and not put them as your career. And like that really, like, I remember listening to that podcast and like this was after I kind of like made my decision to kind of move to PR more than reporting. But like, I just sat there I remember thinking, I thought about that for like 3 days. And like, it's like, how much are you going to like enjoy something? Like I felt like if I was like covering like a baseball team and I had to like ask the coach, like, oh, what do you think about your shift to second base? Or like, how is your pitcher doing 182 times? Like, I just don't know if I could do it. And so like, that's why I just like, you really, really have to have like a passion to do this. And if you have a passion, that's good. But like, don't let your job destroy your passion. And like, this is pretty much what Eric and Matt were talking about. And that's probably one of the like best, that's probably some of the best like podcast listening I've ever done. Is because they talked about, you know, real life shit. And like Matt's done football stuff forever. And he said, hey, like sometimes when I'm working at NFL, like I'm a fantasy writer at NFL. That's like, he's got a great job. He's like, there are just some days I don't enjoy. And so I'm kind of balancing that line where like, this is what I like doing. Obviously, we all like sports. I know I have a knack for writing, and I know I'm good at it, and I understand the media business well. But like, what angle am I taking it here, and which one's gonna make me hate my job more and hate my life more, and which one's not? And I just felt like if I was to continue more reporting and journalist stuff, I just feel like that's not what I was cut out for.
I think, I mean, that because you mentioned Matt Harmon's Backyard Banter podcast, which if you haven't listened to it, is a must listen.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously there's some football stuff, but really it's about life and making those advancements. And there's just some great career and life advice in there. And you mentioned the passion. It's like, and your passion has to be strong, because I think you mentioned it a bit, is 150, 162 games. Maybe it's that can kill your passion. Like after doing it day in, day out, like you're like, you know, I can't do this anymore. It's just I don't have that love for it, and it's just one of those things where you have to find. It has to be a deep passion. I mean, you mentioned Matt Harmon. He talked about how doing the NFL fantasy stuff. I mean, week 1 through 10, 11, all good, but week 12, 13, 14, you're writing the same thing over and over. It's just, what am I doing? Like, it's the same thing every week. It just gets repetitive and you get tired of it. And it's just where you have to find out, is this really what you want to do? And it's a tough evaluation to decide because you're deciding between, your career. So it's.
Yeah, it's tough because, like, I just remember, like, sitting back thinking about that because Eric was like, you're like, listen, your job's your job. And I was like, we're humans. Like, we get to pick. Like, we literally get to pick what we want to do for our lives. Like, there's no reason we should be complaining about our job when we get to pick whatever we want to do. But, like, a job's a job. Like, it's not – that's why there's, like, such the bad and the negative connotation with it. It's like, okay, do I want to keep my passion really strong and not have to worry about it and be able to enjoy football and sports and NFL draft and hockey when I want? And then have like a different job that I don't like at all? Or do I want like to kind of have my passion and kind of hate my passion? Like, that's so tough. And like, just like all this life crap is like catching up to you when you're in college. Like, I almost wish like I knew that like years ago, just like so I could balance this out quicker. I'm not saying I regret anything. It's just like that just really hit me. And it's like, what are you going to do? Because life is life and you got to have a job.
There's so many things I like to mention. I mean, one thing is, I don't know if I've talked about this a lot on Twitter, but I mean, one thing is like dream job. Well, okay, it's like a tier system. So dream job is sports radio. Below that is sports reporter covering a team. But the backup plan is like, if it's not going to happen, I'm going to see if I can return to Sacramento and honestly, like, find some state government job. Yeah. And just get that, and on the weekends and free time, write for fun, because it'll be my passion. I can relieve stress that way, and it'll just be, you have that income, you have that financial stuff for your job and support, and you have the free time to have fun.
I know, like, oh, man, like, I can't tell you how many times I'm just rethinking things like that. Like, yeah, I guess my like dream job at this point would be, I mean, I know to start off it's not going to be much, but like, I guess, like, the thing is, since I really haven't dabbled much in the PR, like, I actually have to like look for internships. Like, I don't know much about like whether or not I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I've seen some of the work that like a Division III sports information director does, and like I see a lot of good things with it. I see a couple bad things with it, but like I just like the whole like brand management of college athletics just really, really enjoys me. Like, that's just something that I like. Like, I can see myself working with college athletics. And like, one of the good things about that I've noticed with like working for an actual team is that like you get to like, another job I've even thought about was like you could work in like TV and radio and print like for that team. Like, right now, probably my dream job is to be like a writer at Colts.com. Like, Kevin Bowen, like, if you're listening to this, man, like, you have my dream job. Like, absolutely, because like you have great relationships with the players. Like, you get to put positive spins on things, but you're still kind of doing what you like, and you're around the team you like. And so, I mean, obviously, you're probably going to start off in the college ranks is where I'm going to be. I'm going to try and get the SID job here after I graduate. I'm going to be a grad assistant and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of community colleges and stuff. That's where you're going to start off. But like, I just like the whole like brand idea, and like you work with like creating all like the news releases, creating like the recruiting guides for recruits, especially if you get to like a bigger school. Like, that's important. Like, you're part of like what makes that school's athletic department like what it is. And like, it's a good thing too, because like when I see like friends that I go to school with, like, who are athletes, or even like here, like, if someone like breaks a record or like does an awesome game, like, they're sharing it on Facebook and Twitter and like, oh, look what I did. It's like, that's what you're writing. Like, they're not sharing it from a student newspaper. Like, they're doing it from the athletics page. And so I don't know, I feel like there's just such like a positive energy around working in public relations for a school or for a team.
I mean, and like, as you're talking about, it's like, Man, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a
like,
lot of bad stuff.
yeah.
I mean, like you still got to go to like some of the crappy games, and like it's still a lot of like oh, you know, Friday night 10 o'clock, you're typing up about like a 3-2 loss in field hockey. Like it's not all that great, but like I don't know, it's just something that's like caught my attention, and it's still I think PR for me is enough where I'm still doing enough of the news and journalistic part of it with enough positive spin and like brand management where I can enjoy it as a career.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing you mentioned is writing for teams. I think BJ Kitzel on Twitter, he was a writer, and now he writes for the Kansas City Chiefs website.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he'll report news and stuff, so then he's writing stories. So I mean, that's kind of the perfect job, and just being able to do it. And you mentioned brand management and PR. Like, you'll see some of these pro teams and just businesses or college teams where it's like you'll see some of the stuff they do, and like, what is that PR person thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like there should be some jobs available.
Yeah.
There's a need for good PR people.
Yeah, like running Twitter accounts. Like you're gonna pay me to run a Twitter account and make graphics and post GIFs. Like I can't believe that's a job for people. Like that sounds so awesome.
GIFs. Oh, I would have so much fun.
Yeah, like that's what like imagine being the like just the guy for Syracuse basketball they make to the Frozen Fort. Like that's a job, is to tweet out that like the team you cover that you work for is going to the Final Four. Like I just think that's great. I'm sorry I'm putting everything on Syracuse because like everyone I go to school with has like the biggest heart on for Syracuse because I'm only an hour away from them.
Hey, Syracuse, it's fine. Just that'd be so. I mean, you'd be able to interact with so many different fans. I think one thing you mentioned with like if you worked for a college as a sports information director is not only you work as do fans enjoy your work and everything, but you get to work with young athletes. You know, whether they go on to the pros or not, but you're able to work with them, see them grow, and you're also able to work with young writers who you can help them guide along. You have your own experience in what they're doing, so you can offer them some advice. You're helping them out. It's kind of the ultimate thing where you're living your dream, but you're also kind of helping build others.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like a big part of it because I remember at the end of last semester, like my grades were in the fucking toilet, and like I knew I wasn't gonna be working at the paper again. And like I went into our SID's office, and like I just told him about it. Like I just talked. I was like, listen, like I don't know, like if this whole like reporting thing's for me. And like he just talked because like he had a journalism degree, like he wanted to be like a beat writer and stuff like that. And he told me about like how he kind of made the switch and stuff like that. And so like I feel like listen, if I make a positive impact on one person's life, like I just changed one person's life, and that's what he did with mine. And like I think that's great. And so I just think about like I love. Maybe just because like I'm in love with college and like how like great of an experience this is. Like I like truly feel like I'm enjoying my life. And like I just think like being like in this atmosphere, sure I'll be older, I'll be like 40 and like working for a college, whatever. But like just like to see like young journalists and like young reporters and like being able to assist them. That's what SID is. That's what PR is. It's a liaison between the team you're representing and the media that wants to cover them. And having that background in media, I feel like would help me so much with the transition of them wanting to talk to the team. And it's because like I know where you've been.
Yeah. I mean, like you can expand on that. Like you could be able to say, look, you could talk to a reporter, be like, listen, you can tell them these specific players, I feel like they'll make for a better story, better quotes for you. So your story can be better. You can get them recognition, everything. So it would be a win-win for everyone. It's just, yeah.
Like I guess that's kind of like where I'm at in my life right now is like figuring out more about what like PR kind of like entails of. Like I know there's still like you still have to write like some things like you're still gonna have to deal with PR nightmares because there are some really crappy people that are athletes and stuff like that. But and like I think what some PR people do is like when the like rookies come in, like the rookie symposium, like talking about like the media, like I don't know, I just think that's cool because having that experience like in the reporting business and being able to transition to that and how you tell other people to deal with it is perfect because you know what you want your brand and your company to look like, and you know what you want people saying about you is. So like you literally get to probably tell like your coach and your players like, hey, like this is how you should probably deal with the media. Like sure, some people are gonna have rants and stuff like that, but like you kind of get the best of both worlds where you try and get your players and your coaches saying the right things, and then the media will like you better, just stuff like that.
It's so funny you bring that up. I mean, I'll add this and then we can go to another topic I want to ask you about. It's like I was sitting in the game a week or two ago talking to a photographer, and I was just like, it'd also be kind of fun to just like, I don't know if it's teaching or have a symposium, as you mentioned, just like talking to young athletes and young players and even coaches about, listen, these are how in certain situations you can deal with the media. This is how you can have fun with them. This is how you can be open. You can give your side of the story. And it's just, it will make their job easier, to make things for you easier. It'd be kind of a fun class or seminar to teach.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure that's like what the PR people do. And like I get it. Part of the PR is you kind of got to be a little like snippy about it. Be like, listen, you can't ask that question and stuff like that. Like I get part of that, and that's kind of, like I said, part of the job that I'm not really like, it doesn't show true emotion. Like that's like a big like proponent that like I've started ever since I started like doing this, is like getting the true emotion of a people and like what reality actually is. But I don't know. I mean, we can go on to your next topic if you want.
Yeah, so one thing you mentioned is with the grades, and that's one of the bigger balancing acts is,
do we have to
just, well, I mean, not even grade, there's no specific grades. It's like, I'm not going to, it's like, so you'll go from, and this also means missing, but like you'll go from a game that's at 4 or 3 o'clock or let's say 2:30, just so a game at 2:30. So you're at that game, and then once that finishes, you got a class at 4, so you're getting over that class at 4:30 or something. So you're just getting and it's just so hard to balance everything, including, of course, we haven't even talked about this, of being an editor, laying out pages, editing stories, just managing all that. It's just such a whirlwind.
Well, I can tell you, last semester, fall semester, I slept less than like I ever have. Like it really started like fucking with my health. Like I was like just an unhealthy person. Like I just remember being like tired all the time. I averaged about like 6 hours of sleep a night, and that's why I just said like a couple minutes ago, like I'm actually like enjoying my life now because like I'm taking one less class. Like I have like free time. Like damn it, I'm gonna enjoy this. But like I just remember being so tired, and it was tough because like I was like a sophomore in editor position, and my assistant was a transfer student, so he didn't know anything either. So I'm like trying to teach myself a job, trying to teach him a job too. And so like I just remember like those first couple of weeks. I remember the first week, the day before. Okay, so our deadline was on Thursday. Our deadline's Thursday night. So Wednesday night until like Thursday morning, I stayed up till 6 a.m. and then went to bed. I slept in the office. I slept on a stack of newspapers from 6 to 8. So I was on 2 hours of sleep. And then we finished way past deadline anyway. And then the week after, I pulled an all-nighter. And I stayed up for 41 straight hours. Just like those first 2 weeks were like absolute hell. And like the product was crap too, because like no one knew what we were doing, like because we had like a really young staff. And so like, we figured out like everything like after, but I just remember like those first couple weeks, just like I now truly know what it's like to be tired. Like just to be exhausted, like every part of you. But like, it was a lesson learned. Like I've learned how to balance things better now, but that's actually one of the things that I love about this too is I'm taking a design class right now. Is like the whole layout and design of it. Like that's like running a website. Like that's what you do as an SID is like you're running the website. You're creating all the game day pamphlets, all the game day brochures. Like I said, you're doing all the recruiting guides that you give to your coaches to give out to players during recruiting trips. Like that's awesome. Like the class is called media layout and design. We're working with Adobe InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, all that stuff too. And like I remember just doing it. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. And you mentioned and so this is my first semester, but I can remember like spending 3 hours to get one photo in just the right position.
Yeah.
So like adjusting it just back and forth so you can just get a story to fit. And it's just before you would never think about it. Like you'd see a newspaper like, oh, That's nice. And you wouldn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
that took
I never thought it would take me
3 hours to do
my
one
assistant
thing.
and I. It would take us Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday to lay out 4 pages, like a
Yeah.
week. Like, oh man, like the fact that people do that every night of their lives, like, just blows my mind. I mean, we have an extremely small staff, and like I get that, but like I just couldn't
What's the
believe
staff
how.
size you guys got?
So we got editor-in-chief, managing editor, 3 copy editors, and then news has 2 assistant and an editor and assistant for news, arts and entertainment, sports, and opinion editor as 1. So 12 people. And then there's like business and advertising, but like that actually goes into the paper. It's about 12 people, and it's 20 pages every Friday.
My goodness,
So,
24. My goodness. We're doing 12 every 2 weeks, and just
yeah.
20 pages every.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like the layout of it is like so much fun, and just like getting to see something like published that like you created. Like I remember, like you look at like a photo caption, like it's lined up perfect, and like you had to like change like so many adjectives and think of like so many synonyms and like mess with the tracking on the font so like it fits like to that photo caption. I just remember like looking at it. It's like, man, that took me like an hour just to think of like a caption for a fucking photo, and like people aren't even reading this. But it's all about the pride with it.
It is. It's just. Yeah, I mean, one and I'll add that after it's like one. I remember last semester doing an editorial, and it took us, me and the online opinion editor, like 2 hours to come up with a headline that not only worked but it fit. And it's just such a long process, and it's the thing no one's going to even look at the end. It's just, but I mean, it's just, and of course, one of the greatest feelings is when you are one of the first people to finish your page, which is just, it's amazing. But you know, it takes so much time, and but it's a great learning experience.
And there's like specialty things we did. For instance, our basketball team made it to the D3 Sweet 16 for the first time ever. And with the way like the location was of like the 4 teams in that region, Oswego was like the most central of it, so we got to host. So what my editor-in-chief and what we did, I mean, we got some people to write stories about like each team, but we made like a special like Sweet 16 like guide for like thousands of people that were coming here to watch it. So like we got to like create that like a game day flyer and stuff like that. And like that was just so cool. Like it's all visuals, man. Like yeah, the content matters, but like listen, you got to get someone to read that. And I'm not saying like you got to like write like these stupid ass headlines to get people to read it, but like listen, you got to make something that looks appeasing. And like that's just like like every week I just like go back. I read a lot of, there's this great website, which like, I think like every journalist, especially college, should be going to. It's called issue.com. It's ISSUU. And like every day I read the Cornell Daily Sun, the Daily Orange, and the Michigan Daily, which are like 3 of my favorite ones. And they put every day on issue. It's like a PDF that you can just like view. And so like every morning, like if I'm like in a boarding class or like I just got like time or something, I'm just like reading through and like, yeah, I'm kind of focusing on like the content and seeing like, all right, listen, they're coming out with daily stuff. Like, how do I create like story ideas? Like story ideas is such a big part of it. But like, I want to see like how they're laying stuff out, like what they're doing with this image here, like what they're doing with the headlines, the different fonts and colors and stuff like that. Like, I just think it's so cool. Like the graphics are just like so interesting. It's like, that's what gets people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of the things that I need to continue to work on is creativity. I mean, like this was simple, but like doing it, I was so happy just to have it because it worked. But it's just, and then there are those moments with like, let's say you're working on a story about the team, and you find that perfect picture, which is just, I don't know how to describe it, but that moment when it happens and you see that and it just ties together so perfectly is incredible.
Yeah, I wish. I might like post something up on here. I mean, we can keep talking, but like, I might try to do my show screen. But like, I've just been like going back and like just like reading, just like going back to our old issues and like seeing like how terrible it was like the first week and like how bad it was laid out, and then like the weeks like where I knew like we had a lot going on, or not even a lot going on, but just like where I knew I was prepared for it. So like I could see it really well. It's just like so like satisfying just to like see your progress.
So when you think about all the editors, I mean, because obviously it's you're spending so many hours together. So I mean, how would you describe the relationship between editors and?
Listen, newsrooms are awesome. Like just like because we're right next to our TV station too. So like I just like the whole concept of newsrooms is awesome. Like we have we actually have this funny thing. It's a private group on Facebook, so like no one can really get into it. We have a thing called the quote wall, and so like we just like anything anyone says like it's fair game, like just to put on the quote wall. It's like that's so much fun because like it's 2 a.m. and like we're all like sleep deprived, and like someone says something stupid, we put up on the quote wall, and like everyone can read it and stuff like that. And so I don't know, it's just so cool, and like you get to see like what aspirations and like what like makes people like love what they do. Like I know like the arts and entertainment section, it's called Laker Review. Like those, like they just love that stuff. Like, and then like there's a girl like she just like loves reporting, and like that makes me so happy that like I wanted to do this and I don't like it, but there's people out there that like love doing this and like they have such a passion for it. Like I can see like that burning inside of them that they like want to do something right and they want to get it right just so people can read it. Like they're willing, like it's not sacrificing like your reputation, but like they're willing to do whatever it has so people can know more about something. Like I think that's so honorable, like people that are willing to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to figure out how we can do a show. How do you do show screen on here?
There should be on the side panel. There should be a green box.
Desktop. I'm screen sharing you.
Well, I mean, you know that works.
Let me see. Let me see if I can figure it. Do I do desktop or Google Hangout?
I think it would be desktop.
That's what I just did. Start screen share. Is it showing now?
3 boxes.
Can you see anything or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
NCAA men's basketball.
Yeah, because I kind of want to just show like what, of course, it's taking forever to load. Like just so like this is the guide that we created, and so like, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like we just I don't know, like going through all this stuff. Like it doesn't look like a lot of work, but like the amount of work that we like it took a whole week, like plus the issue that we were already making, like just to make this.
Oh my goodness.
So cool. And then this is the one I'm going to show right now is my favorite issue. We have our like Michigan, like Ohio State, our big rivalry is called Whiteout. And so it's a thing that we have it's a school called Plattsburgh. And so like every year it's every year at our school. And like we have a big thing called like a Whiteout issue, like where it just focuses on that. And if this would load, like I remember just like thinking about like how proud I was of like this cover and how it came out. And if it would load, Matt, I swear I'll show it to you.
Yeah, this isn't the whiteout you're talking about. It's completely blank pages.
Yeah, no, that's a different Whiteout. But oh fuck it, this would load. Jesus, but like I don't know, just like seeing like something that you make and showing like how, like look like making that cover was like so just happy for me.
Oh my goodness!
Can you see like yeah, and like being able to talk to like former like head coaches and stuff like that, like just making all these graphics, like putting this together through like I don't know, it's just so like just great. And like it's not that I feel bad that I'm not like I know I'm not going to continue doing this, but like just to like know that like at one point like really proud. Like I love. And the one thing I love about our newspaper is it's a small town, it's a college town, and our circulation's like 3,000, but like town's not that many, and there's only one other like real newspaper, and like I don't want to harp on them, but like they're not that good. Like I know we cover like so much more stuff like on campus than they do, and like our TV station, like they win awards every year, and they pretty much are like the actual like go-to place. Like bars play our student TV station for hockey games.
Wow, that's
like it gets in a town of like I don't know, like 30,000, 40,000. I don't even know, but like some of the hockey games get like a couple thousand viewers. Like that's just like insane. I don't know. So like I just think the big thing that like I want to like take away from this podcast is like I'm not doing what I originally thought I wanted to do, but like I still take pride in not only what I have done, but like what I still want to do. And it's just going back to that whole thing about like what your passion is and like what are you willing if you're willing to sacrifice anything of your passion, like make sure like you're doing it for something that you know you can enjoy. And listen, I know I'm not going to be rich one day, but like I'm going to be making a decent wage where I can enjoy the experience that I'm in. Maybe if I move up enough, I can make enough money. But like, just take pride in what you're doing.
It's one of the things I joke with people is I gave up on a high-paying career long ago. Yeah. It's a lot of hours. It's not a lot of pay, but I mean, if it's the passions there, then it's. And one lesson from this semester is, but I mean, granted, this might be different if we had a football team, but since we don't, it's been largely baseball. It's just, it has grown so much, my love for baseball. Mm-hmm. I guess, and I've covered some basketball. It's just one of those things where, I mean, baseball is a slower game, but I mean, one of the things I like about it is it gives you so much time to do different things with live tweeting out video, and just being able to write a story during the game. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of one of the nice things about baseball is there's still action going on, but there's times where you can do different things to make the experience even greater.
But on the other side, like I've learned to take like advantage of every dead play in hockey, because I know like as soon as the puck is on the ice, like I have to be like aware of like everything that's going on. And like it's more, a lot of things are unfolding. Like you have to look, like looking at a play, like you're looking at the puck, like, all right, what are the forwards doing here? Who's coming on the line change, stuff like that's important stuff, like different things of analysis that you have to like keep track of. Where I feel like baseball, like you can pretty much just focus on the ball and like you won't miss anything.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, hockey would be such an interesting sport to cover.
Like I appreciate so much like going to like a hockey school, like it's done for me, because like it's just like such an amazing sport, and like calling hockey is by far like the absolute one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life, because like it's so fast paced, like it's so like action packed, and like you have to be on top of your game, like for like there's no really like slow time, like it's like quick. It's just like, because that's how the game works. And so like I don't know, like, and I still don't want to like shut off like this whole career, because like it's like, I guess PR is kind of just like a subset of journalism. Like I take classes with PR people all the time.
I mean, it's subset. I think it's a new age journalism. I think it's the next thing that it's going to start growing even more. So
yeah, I mean, like sports. I mean, like, for like a business PR, it's like a little different. Like you're not covering it. Yeah. But like I don't know. It's like the whole thing. And like certain PR jobs, like you still get to like do what you love. Like there are colleges where, like I guess our college, since we like our student media organizations are like really, really well, that like our actual athletics department doesn't have to like broadcast much. But I know like schools where like their SID, like he's got to like write the game recaps. He's got to like, they have like their own radio station where they got to like call the games themselves too. And like, I mean, that's still fun. Like you're still doing what you're doing. You're still getting the attention for being the one that makes the great call or writes that last game recap. It's just, I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's a reason I got into this in the first place. And like, I like all of it. It's just figuring out like, what do I enjoy? What am I willing to deal with that I may not necessarily enjoy the most? And what can I still take pride in myself in for?
Yeah, and so I think we covered a lot of things. So that's say final message for me and then for you. I would say if you have any interest in journalism, be a part of the newspaper at least once. Yep. Get that experience, be able to see what goes on, and maybe your love for it grows. Maybe being part of the newspaper, you find a different love. Maybe it's being in PR for a team. Maybe it's just helping people in some way. Maybe it's anything. But just be a part of it. Learn the business. Have fun. It's a time you won't forget, and be able to adjust and adapt, because your mindset and what you want to do is going to change. So just have fun with it and learn. Yeah,
especially if you like teaching. I mean, like pretty much all my professors had gigs that were journalism. Like my sports journalism professor, like he made like a lot of, like connections while he was went back, got his PhD, and now like every week we have a guest speaker. Like I've met Tyler Dunn of the Buffalo News. I've met Will Leach of Sports on Earth and Bloomberg Politics. My professor's sister covers the Sabres for the Buffalo News. Like it's just like everything. And so like if you like teaching, like this is great for you too, because like you get a little experience figure out it's not what you want to do for 40 years until like, and then you want to just go back and give it back to other people.
Absolutely. So, and just, I do want to say, Brian, and first of all, thank everyone for listening. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, when we first were planning, it's like, you never know how long it's going to be. And, this one was free flowing, but I'm so glad we did this. And it was fun because we had so many different things to talk about. So I think we're more than an hour later. So
yeah, I know freaking people on Twitter know like my whole entire life now, but that's all right. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So everyone, thank you for listening. And again, just if you're a journalist, follow both of us. We'll talk when we're about different things, and it'll be fun because there's plenty of things news people have to talk about.
It's always a growing industry and a growing business, and that's one thing you got to love about it is it's never going to stay flat.
Absolutely. And with that, we will end the show. So everyone, thank you for listening. Good night.